All right, I'm trying to say this with all the respect that I have for all the aunties out there, but Joe Biden ain't it. So look, I get it. Black people, in a lot of ways, we're used to voting for harm reduction, right? Which one of these candidates that's out there is going to do less harm to my community? But looking at the choices that we have now, Joe Biden is just not that guy. So when I look at Joe Biden's career over the course of decades, statements, bills introduced, policy platforms that he's taken up, what really sticks out to me is that he doesn't really have a ton of respect for black people.
I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice looking guy.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
A lot of the other politicians that we're used to, they go out of their way to enact policy, to use little code words, little dog whistles, in ways that are designed to hurt black people. Joe Biden is not that. Well, at least not anymore. With Joe Biden, it's not really that he hates us or anything like that. That's just not the case. But I do think he pities us. I do think that if you look at, his career, the policies he's taken up, the positions he's held, they really are about, him being a savior type of figure, him being the kind of person who figures out what's wrong with the black people and what he can do to help out.
I spent last summer going through the black sections of my town, holding rallies in parks, trying to get black men to understand it's not unmanly to wear a condom, getting women to understand they can say no, getting people in the position where testing matters. I got tested for AIDS. I know Barack got tested for AIDS. There's no shame in being tested for AIDS. It's an important thing because the fact of the matter is in the community's engaged in denial. They're engaged in denial. No one wants to talk about it in the community, and we do not have enough leaders in the community and outside the community demanding we face the reality, confront the men in the community, as well as the women, letting them know there are alternatives.
Thank you. It's never really been about having a basic level of respect for our own agency, having a basic level of respect for our own ability to self-determine. I can't look at Joe Biden's career and say that that's been something that he's championed. Now, if you go back through his career, there really is a lot of problematic stuff. Now, you can decide for yourself whether you think these things should still be disqualifying. But, first working with the Dixiecrats, way back decades ago, then back into the 80s, where he was actively pushing Ronald Reagan to be more punitive with crime against our community. And ultimately that coalesced around the 1994 crime bill, which he championed, that really devastated a community for decades in ways that we really still haven't recovered from. And I think that that's the case whether or not you have family or friends or anything like that that's been caught up in the criminal justice system. The criminal justice system has decimated the community in ways that have an impact on everything, right? They impact our neighbors, they impact our school systems, they impact property values, they impact everything, they impact crime, right? It's not like the crime bill somehow magically stopped crime. It's had a huge impact on our community, and it's hard for me to look at that and not say that Joe Biden needs to be held accountable. And if the least I can do is withhold my vote from him, I think that that's what I should be doing. Now, you get to make your own choice around that, obviously. And also, Joe Biden has apologized for the crime bill, but it's 20 years later, the same way he apologized to Anita Hill for his role in the Clarence Thomas Supreme Court case. He apologized to her, days before he was set to run for president this time, which is really kind of trash considering he ran for president in between the Anita Hill incident and this time anyway. He didn't seem, to feel the need to apologize then. But, again, that's your own call how you want to deal with those types of things. What is absolutely wild to me is that Joe Biden really stood up on the debate stage and said black people don't know how to raise our kids. Like, he said that.
But as you stand here tonight, what responsibility do you think that Americans need to take to repair the legacy of slavery in our country?
We bring social workers into homes of parents to help them deal with how to raise their children. It's not that they don't want to help, they don't know quite what to do.
We all got caught up in the whole record player part of what he was saying, but the foundation of what he said is that black people don't know how to raise their kids and we need to go in there and show them. And on top of Biden not being all that great for black people, I honestly don't see how he's great for the country in general. I really can't figure out. I've watched basically every debate. I've read everybody's policy platforms. I can't really figure out what Joe Biden is actually for. It seems like he's pushing this whole nostalgia, for a bygone era. But for me, I can't really figure out why we would want that. The Obama years, they were obviously more comfortable for us than these Trump years have been, but they also weren't that great. In a lot of ways, the recovery from the financial crisis was never enough. The Affordable Care Act, while, a groundbreaking piece of legislation when it came out, is obviously not doing everything that it needs to be doing right now. And we need to move on from these types of things. Trump is not an aberration. This country elected a fascist for a reason. And it's not just people's racism, right? People's racism obviously played a role in that. But that's not the only reason. Right, this country has been hurting. Like, we do have 500,000 people sleeping out on the street every night, right? We do have 68,000 people dying from lack of healthcare or lack of ability to use their healthcare, even if they do have insurance. With the co-pays and deductibles so high, people still choose death. They choose to ration medicine. Like, they make these choices because the system that we have around them is not adequate. We need actual change, and whether or not you think that falls with candidate A or candidate B, it doesn't fall with Joe Biden. He's literally told us that things are going to be the same under a Joe Biden presidency. I don't know about you, but the same as 2014, 2015, 2016, that's not really good enough. There's a reason why that lost in 2016 in the general election, despite going up against an absolute buffoon, despite going up against the guy who had, a devastating tape leak like a month before the election. Like, we still lost because we weren't actually putting a vision forward for the American people that spoke to why their lives weren't maybe as great as they thought they, should be, and what we were going to do about that. This country has huge problems, and that's before we even get into our impact on the world stage. Where Biden likes to, claim some sort of bona fides, but I don't understand how knowing people means that you're going to be a great world leader, right? Like, you have to have a vision, you have to have ideas for what the world is supposed to be. And Joe Biden is out here kicking the same stuff we've been hearing for decades, right? Country A is bad. Why? Who knows? Country B is great. Why? Who knows? What are we going to do? Treaties and this and that, and none of it really speaks to any of the issues of today, right? What are we going to do about climate change? That's the global issue right now. What are we going to do about that? The Paris Agreement? That's a joke. I'm just going to close off on this. We can do better. We can do better. And not only, can we do better, we have to do better. We have to demand more from the politicians that are trying to get our vote. It can't just be, you knew the homie Obama. That's not it. That's just not it. What is Joe Biden going to do for you? He's tried to cut Social Security several times. Is that in your best interest? He's trying to cut Medicare and Medicaid. Is that in your best interest? He's trying to keep Obamacare, which, again, while it was good for its time, it's not where we are right now. A public option, is that really in your best interest over single payer Medicare for all? I don't see it. Again, you get to make your own choices. No one's trying to take that away from you, but I love you, and I really hope for better for you and better for me. We need more than to just step backwards. We have to go forward, and we can't go forward with the same things that have been harming us for all these decades, for centuries really in this country. We can't go forward that way. We have to go forward in a way that challenges our capitalistic system around us, that challenges our educational system, that challenges our healthcare system, that challenges everything that's been built up to harm us. Joe Biden is not challenging the things that have been built up to harm us, so they're going to remain. That's it. And maybe you've personally been doing well, and maybe your family's personally been doing well, and that's great. I applaud you for that. But there are so many people out there who are hurting, so many people out there who cannot afford their health care, who cannot afford their housing, whose wages haven't risen in 40 years. That's a real stat. Real wages haven't risen in 40 years. It's not good enough to just go back to that. That's my piece. We still got a long way to go in the voting. I would just hope that we're going for something that's pushing for a vision of the future that's better than the past. better than the past.